Anyone who has been following the world of criminal justice and the world of court TV and In Session and CNN, well, it's not called court TV anymore, it's called In Session. We all know that the death of Michael Jackson has caught the world's media attention. We are talking about the Conrad Murray trial. It got started yesterday. It got started a little late, but I have a lot of thoughts on this, and this might be like a two-part video because I was fascinated by what I saw yesterday. Excuse me. Prosecution and defense started their opening statements and presenting their cases to the world as to what they're going to prove to either get a conviction or to set this man free. Now, or an acquittal, excuse me. First of all, I want to start off with the fact that, the prosecution does have an interesting case. They're trying to say to the world that what they're going to prove is, Dr. Conrad Murray was so grossly negligent that not only was he unprofessional, he ended up killing one of the most popular icons, our king, Michael Jackson. And why does he say that? Well, he started off with compelling photos of Michael Jackson before pictures and his last moments of life on the bed where he was pronounced dead. He was already dead at the house, but just looking at his dead body was enough to say, damn. The prosecution also was talking about how Conrad Murray was trying to cover his tracks. He was lying to paramedics and ER teams. He lied to the police. There was a lot of lies going on when he got to the hospital. I mean, and especially the disturbing and phone messages he was recording on May 10th when Michael Jackson was slurring his words under propofol. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But for the most part, the defense definitely has a lot of problems here because I'm listening to this and they presented an interesting case of grossly negligence. The defense's theory is, and they got an interesting reason about, they got problems in this, but they do have an interesting reasonable doubt. They're saying, okay, you know what? They don't believe that Dr. Conrad was grossly negligent. He was being used by Michael Jackson because Michael Jackson killed himself. I think that we don't want to say this about Michael, but we have to say it. Michael Jackson had an addiction problem, a junkie. Someone who basically was in denial that he had a problem, and the people around him did not do anything to help Michael get treated for this problem. And basically what the defense is saying is, okay, you know what? Yes, there were problems in working with Michael Jackson that ended up killing Michael Jackson. But they're not saying that basically he killed him, because if he was murdered, this would be different charges. We would be talking about first-degree murder. This is just basically, he gave some drugs to Michael Jackson, and the question is, was he grossly negligent or Michael Jackson killed himself? Now, they had Ken Ortega on the stand yesterday, and he's explaining what it was like to do rehearsals with Michael Jackson, and did he have any problems doing these rehearsals? Was he missing from a short period of time? Whatever. But the fact of the matter is that Ken Ortega's testimony was just basically saying that, for the prosecution, because he was their state's witness, is that, Michael Jackson didn't really have a problem, and that the rehearsals, Ken Ortega is saying he wasn't sick. The defense saying that he was sick and that Ken Ortega was in denial. I think the thing that I'm mostly fascinated by this case is that the sad and disturbing world that we are finding out, even after day one, it's enough to tell you that Michael Jackson's world in the last moments of his life have been compelling. It's been a dark and disturbing world. We see our icons in the light and we say, you know what? They can't do no wrong. And Michael Jackson was loved he loved his fans. And I think his fans don't realize, and we all do this, and I'm sure that, you know, I have a little girl, and I'm sure that she'll do this when she has her favorite icon, that, you know what, we don't want to believe that they would do the things that they were doing before they died. I mean, if you want to be honest, I think that Michael Jackson used Conrad. If you want to point the guilty in terms of morality, everybody was wrong. No one is saying that, you know, Dr. Conrad Murray wasn't responsible, because now we're talking about the law. And I think that the prosecution is attacking the way he handled himself professionally. But morality-wise, I'm talking about Michael Jackson was wrong, Conrad Murray was wrong, the family was wrong. I'm talking about Catherine and Jermaine and Joe and all of them that were around him. I mean, I'm sure that as much as you love him, you don't want to believe that he was doing it, but he was. He just basically had a prescription problem. Let's not forget about the people in his business world, like Ken Ortega and AEG Productions, that basically were working with him. And you mean to tell me that they didn't know that Michael had this problem of propofol, and he couldn't sleep? And, you know, basically, if you want to be honest, Michael Jackson was a very in control of everything that was around him. He was very soft-spoken, but he was definitely a control freak. He was like that in his professional life, and he was like that in his private life. I mean, if you look at some of the testimony, you know, when it came to his music, he wanted everything perfect. When it came to his private life, he wanted it the way he wanted it, because money talks and bullshit walks. But you know something? It's just, I think, honestly, Michael used Conrad Murray, but for the wrong reasons. I don't think he wanted to use him for a private doctor. He wanted to use him because he wanted a doctor feel good. So, you know, I know my time is limited, so I mean, I'm going to make this last point. You know, the most controversial and the most saddest part of this whole trial that everybody's playing is that May 10, 2009 recording of Michael Jackson slurring his words. Now, I don't know why Conrad Murray would do that and record Michael Jackson in that fashion. I don't know if he was trying to say, look, Michael, you know what, we got to get you off this, or he was maybe using that to play it for the world and get money out of it. I don't know what the deal was with that, so I can't really comment on Conrad Murray's intentions of the recording. But just listening to Michael on propofol is enough to tell you that Michael Jackson had a problem. You know, this wasn't about some man giving our king drugs. Michael Jackson was an addict. This is what addicts do. There was one part of the opening statement where the defense was talking about Michael Jackson could not sleep, and he had anxiety problems, depression. I mean, this man begged for propofol. I mean, there was one moment that I'm sure that's going to be brought up later in the defense's theory that, you know what, Michael Jackson was so addicted to propofol, he begged and pleaded and cried over it. Help me sleep, I can't sleep. You know, doctor, give me some propofol. You gotta understand that I constantly am thinking all the time. I need sleep. I'm up 36 hours a day. I haven't slept in days. I mean, you know, Michael Jackson was acting like that. And you know, Conrad Murray, watch this professional genius who's created some of the most brilliant songs of our time sink as low as being what a junkie would go through. Someone who's going through withdrawal and can't get himself out of it. So, you know, and that video is so disturbing. He's slurring words like, everybody knows that everybody's gonna love my video, and the video is going to, you know, this is going to be the most greatest entertainer. You know, he was talking like that, and you're like, damn. And Michael Jackson sounds so different when he's under that stuff. Normally he has that feminine voice that a lot of people have been wondering about him. But at the end of the day, you have to say to yourself, what the fuck is going on here? But, you know, compelling open. So this is going to be an interesting entertainment in the world of crime. I'm going to do more videos on this as it goes along. But as a starter, this has been compelling. So, you know, I don't know how this is going to come to an end for Conrad, but my suggestion, take the stand because you'll beat this. Remember, use your mind. It's your best weapon.